Would you record this and
All
then
right,
just
y'all. Good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Good day to everyone. Another day here on the Reentry Connect podcast, here with a brother, Samuel Randolph. If you hear this person's story, I'm telling you, that's the reason why we have it titled Innocent, Paralyzed, and Exonerated. Just in those three captions right there. This man was innocent when he went to jail. He was paralyzed by the guards while he was in there, but then he also was exonerated afterwards. Now, tell me how you supposed to cope with something like that after you went through so much trauma, through going in there, knowing that you were innocent, going in there and then being beat down by the guards, then going in there and getting paralyzed on top of that. Now, you tell me how's that supposed to register to a person that's supposed to re-enter society? Do you understand that this did a lot of things mentally, physically, spiritually, psychologically? It's so many things that you could put in a nutshell. But again, y'all know I'm the host, Keenan Hudson, and I really appreciate Mr. Randolph coming here and tuning in and giving his time, to share his story and letting y'all know how far that he's come and how much, patience that he has to have, just trying to return to society and live a normal life, but being paralyzed, after such a devastation inside the behind prison walls. So, Mr. Samuel Randolph, you could go ahead and just introduce yourself, and I want you to share your story so people can hear of the horror tales that goes on behind the walls, and not even only that, but by you being even incarcerated and being a victim to the crooked justice system. So you can share these things so other people can be made aware of your current situation. Thank you, Mr. Randolph.
okay? Well, first and foremost, thank you. This one, thank you, salute, shout out to you and your list. Thanks for having me and
Absolutely.
on this platform. I truly appreciate that and
No
appreciate
problem.
all the listeners, everybody tuning in. So, for those that don't know me, my name is Samuel Randolph. In 2001, I was arrested, wrongfully convicted, and railroaded all the way to Pennsylvania's death row. Uh, so when I was convicted and sentenced, I received two counts, two capital counts. I was convicted on two capital counts, two death sentences. In addition to that, they also sentenced me to 50, 58 to 116 years.
Wow.
Addition to those two. Uh, from day one, they always knew that I was innocent. That's what makes my case so bad, and all the things along that happened to me along the way. Before I was arrested, I was
Mhm.
running a business. My mom owned the bar business, and I managed the day-to-day operations for that business. So that's where I was before and after the crimes were
Gotcha.
committed, and they knew that I was there working
Mhm.
at work. So when I fast forward to the conviction, well, to the trial actually. So in order for, I was trying to. They appointed me a court appointed lawyer. They tried to rush me in with a court appointed lawyer. My trial was only 2 days, but it was just
Wow.
bad, and it just they didn't do no investigation. This court appointed lawyer,
Mhm.
he was actually running the BDA in the neighboring county. My case is out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Uh, this
Okay.
this guy, he was in bed with the prosecutor. He did absolutely nothing for me. So when he first came on board, he said,
Mhm.
listen, we're just gonna plead you guilty and then and plead you insanity defense. I was like, what? Man, you out your
Wow.
mind. Like, I'm innocent. I didn't do this. And he was he did absolutely nothing but besides get a
Mhm.
prosecutor. He helped the prosecutor convict me. But
Mhm.
once he told me what he was up to, I wouldn't even talk to him after that. So what I did
Mhm.
is my mom, she had to sell a bar and all that to try to get me a lawyer. Once we got the lawyer, once she sold the business and all that, and we got the lawyer, it was on the eve of trial. They didn't let the lawyer in. Went down and got
Wow.
a out of Philadelphia area, and
Mhm.
they had that good old boy network going on up there in Harrisburg, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so they didn't want the lawyer that we retained to represent me because he wasn't going to go along with the plan, the scheme, that they had set up to
Mhm.
railroad me. So long story short, I like I said, my trial was 2 days. I quickly came back and with a death sentence. Oh, let me stop short. So me and this lawyer that they forced me in the trial with, right? We wasn't even talking during the trial. They had another standby counsel to act as a mediator because I ain't had no rap for the court appointed because he was out to get me too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even want to talk to him and play them games with him, so I wouldn't talk to him. Because I had another lawyer that I retained. That's who I wanted to represent me.
Yeah.
So it shifted after they found me guilty. It shifted to the penalty phase, and
Mm-hmm.
that's when I went up. I took over from that point. I took it over and because I didn't want no mitigation to be presented at that because from day one, like I told them, mitigation is irrelevant in this case. I'm being railroaded, so I don't want to
Right.
get to what happened when I was younger or what happened to my family. A lot of times
Mm-hmm.
in capital cases, that's what they try to spare you the
Yeah.
death penalty. And by saying, look what happened to this guy when he was younger, or his family, they do it's mitigation to mitigate it, and you might get a life sentence. I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
play that game because what I always stuck to, was my innocent, and I never wavered from that. And
Mm-hmm.
so I didn't want to distract away. This was about some dirty cops, vicious,
Wow.
malicious prosecutor. That's what this case is about. I'm being railroaded,
Mm-hmm.
innocent,
Wow.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
anything
Mm-hmm.
to me when I was younger or my family, it was all irrelevant to me. We wasn't going to play that game, right? I'm innocent,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I took over the case, and I just didn't present any mitigation. Like I said, it was irrelevant. So off I go to death row. So when I
So wow. So before you continue, so you said so you were innocent when you went in.
yeah,
They tried to slap a public defender on you,
yep,
and the end result was you were sentenced to death in prison,
yep, and plus 58 to 116
plus
years,
58 to try for something you did not even do.
right? And they knew I was innocent.
All right. So now you go into prison and
Hmm.
you start serving your time.
Yes.
What happens next?
Oh man. So they took me straight to death row from the courtroom. They wouldn't even let me go back to the county and get my stuff or nothing. They took me straight up there, right? Uh
Mm-hmm.
so once I got there, they sent me out to SCI Green on the western side of the state, 50 miles south of Pittsburgh. When you're on death row, you can only go to two. Now it's only one, but back then it was two places.
Greater for or green.
Absolutely. So they
Yeah.
they shot me way out there on that western side of the state.
Mm-hmm.
Super racist. The jail is I always describe Trump land. That's just what
Gotcha.
it is out there. It's Trump land, and they wicked and real vicious and racist out there. So once I got there, the guards there, they had a notorious history for assaulting prisoners and doing all types of crazy stuff. The
Oh,
prisoners out on death row, they was trying to do the same thing to us. They was doing that. They was burning us for yard. We was already locked down, but they was
yeah.
burning the yard for meals, kicking, banging on our doors,
Mm.
stressed out, attacking, assaulting. So I was one of the guys that it was several guys, but I was one of the ones that fought back, right? And
Okay.
you
So
know,
you was getting back into altercations with the guards
yeah,
because they
but
was
man,
picking on you. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
you
So
fought back through the grievance system.
exactly.
Through the
So
grievance.
so
So you okay? Yeah.
yeah,
I'm good.
I was one of the ones that eventually I learned how to do lawsuits and all that in
Mm-hmm.
jail, but I was the one doing the grievances. So for me, filing so many grievances, I became a target to them. And
Wow.
so on May 18th, 2009, that's when they hashed their plan. I used to go to the only time we can come out the cells back then was either go to the yard or the shower law library, right? Or visit or something like that. So
Okay.
I would go out in the little dog cages out in the yard. You go into a little dog cage. You
Yeah.
familiar
Yeah.
with that? Little cages,
Right.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
and I would work out all the time, how to relieve the stress. And they knew I went to the yard, so they had me handcuffed behind my back. Whenever you go to the yard or exit the cell, you're handcuffed or shackled depending on where you're going. But I was
Mm-hmm.
on to the yard, and I was handcuffed behind my back. So when we spin through the little hallway, it's a little hallway that goes from the block to the yard.
Yeah.
When we at that little hallway, that's when they hatched their little plan of attack. And I was
Mm.
behind my back and defenseless. So 3 guards attacked me and assaulted me there. When they picked
Wow.
me up, and we're in this little small hallway. When they picked me up and slammed me to the ground, 2 of them landed on my back and spine. That's what caused the injuries, right?
Wow.
Uh, so we're in there. After they assault me, they leave me just laying on the floor for about an hour, and I'm injured. I'm in crazy pain. I'm still handcuffed behind my back, and they just let me lay there on the floor until medical came. It took medical about an hour.
An hour. So
Yeah.
what did they tell medical when they picked you up? When medical picked you up, what were the guards saying to medical about your situation?
Oh, once they seen that I was hurt, they went and tried to concoct this little lie, and they said that I spit on them, right?
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, but the problem with that was on death row, because how it is super secure there. They got cameras everywhere, every part of
Gotcha.
death row, right? So the whole incident got caught on surveillance. They recorded the incident, but the incident
Wow.
didn't show because I never spit on them. They was just lying, trying to cover up, right? So what
Gotcha.
they did, and the whole incident was caught on videotape, but they lied and said, "Oh, that Pacific camera wasn't working that day because they didn't want to release it." They play them
Wow.
games, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what they try to say, and they just that's what they told them. So medical started taking pictures, and I couldn't move, so they put me on a gurney stretcher. I didn't walk since that day, but they put me on a gurney and stretcher that day. Took me
Wow.
over
So
to the
you literally was walking, physical, and able to do everything until one day you was handcuffed going to a yard and the guards plotted an attack on you, which paralyzed you even to this day.
even to this day.
So
I
you
didn't.
haven't been walking since 2009.
Yep, May 18th. On my way to that last day that I walked on the way to the yard that day. Before then, I walked into the jail because when I got to death row in 2000 and I think it was 2003 when I first went up there. Yeah, I got arrested in '01. Went up there in 2003. I was walking. I worked out 5 times a day. I was in the best shape of my life, right? And that's why
Gotcha.
I waited until I was handcuffed behind my back to
Yeah,
assault me. Right? So I was defenseless. 'Cause,
defenseless.
yeah, I
So
was
so
defenseless.
let me ask you this. So after when the medical came, they took pictures and everything. Where did they realize that you were actually when did they realize that you were paralyzed?
Oh, so they took me to the infirmary. So from that day, they was denying me. I need to go to the hospital. They was denying me access to the hospital, and what they did is kept me in the infirmary. They kept saying that I was malingering, faking. They said I was faking and just making up the
Wow.
story and malingering. Right? It
Yeah,
took
yeah, yeah.
me. I didn't get to an outside hospital until July 2nd of that year. Right? And I went.
What?
Yeah, yeah, they just vicious, man. So what they did, they kept me over in medical for about 30 days. After that, they sent me straight to the hole up there and put me on the floor, right? Um, so I'm fighting, still trying to get to an outside hospital. My lawyers is trying to help me get to a hospital, and it took them to July 2nd to send me to a hospital. So I didn't. So I just laid over there on the hole in the strip cell, right? Because they was just grinding me up and start torturing me after that, real crazy. Um,
Wow.
once I got the MRI, it showed injuries to my lumbar spine. So L4 and L5 is where they caused the injuries to my legs, my back, legs. I had a tear in my spine. And
Mhm.
but once I got the MRI, they couldn't say I was faking anymore because it clear you can't fake an MRI machine out.
Yeah,
Either
you
you got
can't. You
injuries or
can't.
you don't, right? But that
Hmm.
that's where they seen that I truly had injuries.
It was Andrew.
Yeah. So
Done.
yeah, but
So after they did that, and they gave you whatever medications and things like that, did they just go to normal operations as if nothing happened?
what you mean?
Like, did they just say, okay, well, he's injured, so we're just going to send him back to his cell? Or did they at least try to investigate to see if there was some type of case involved with that?
Oh no, they just start grinding me up real crazy. They kept me in a hole. They gave me 2 years and misconducts, fabricated
Wow.
conduct just to keep me in isolation, permanent. I was already in isolation, but they didn't want me to have a TV, nothing in the cell,
Nothing.
right? And they just kept me in a hole because I was doing the whole time for them lying, saying I spit on them, and it years
Wow.
they stacked me up with 2 years of whole time for that, right?
Oh, wow.
Like I said, I was a target anyway because I was fighting back all the time and I was filing lawsuits,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so they wanted to keep me in a hole, grind me up, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what they was doing. They was playing games, with the food, uh, spitting in my
Mm-hmm.
food, spraying disinfect on the
This is
food.
fact. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know
and
about that.
I wouldn't even take no food from them. I wouldn't
Wow.
even take no food from them. So a couple of times, I went on a hunger strike, or they would play games, and so for the camera, sometimes it looked like they put a tray in the cell, but it wouldn't be nothing on it because they had a lid on it. But it looked like they put something in. But
Wow.
I open it just to be an empty tray, right?
Wow.
But to the camera that's on the outside, it looked like they put a tray into the cell.
Trains
But
itself.
so I wouldn't even let them play them games with me, right? And they was
Yeah.
playing types of games like that. So went on
Mm-hmm.
several hunger strikes, and once I got out the hole, and I went to the hospital a couple times, because I refused to eat their food. But once I was able to get my own food, I had access and all that type of stuff sent to me, from
Yeah.
my family, mom,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
a bunch of food inside my cell. So once I stockpiled my own food, I never took a tray from them,
You ever
right?
took a try?
Yeah, so because that caused them so much trouble. Because once I missed three consecutive days, 9 meals, they considered a hunger strike, and they got to do a bunch of paperwork. They got to go to central office in Camp Hill.
Wow.
Why ain't this guy eating the food? So what they did though, this is how demonic and vicious, these diabolical these boys were, right? So
Okay.
they was so mad, so they was like, you know what, we gonna get you. We got something for you. So what their plan was, because I would never take their food, they wanted to go to court to get a court order to force feed me, right? And like I explained to the judge at the time, like the judge, they brought me into court, local Greene County court, and was asking what was going on. So what they did though, they separated me from my food, and they took me down to the infirmary and put me in a strip cell down there because I wouldn't eat their food, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't get my own food, but I still was determined not to eat their food because I'm not gonna allow eating a food sprayed with disinfect or that they spit in it,
Uh,
right? So I explained that to the judge. I said, listen, they just won't give me my food, I don't have to eat their food. And I explained what was going on, right?
yeah.
If you
Yeah.
bring
Yeah. Yeah.
my food, I got healthy food. I got peanut butter, tuna fish, the
Yeah.
trail
Yeah.
mix. It ain't just chips and cookies.
Mm-hmm.
I eat healthy, right?
Yeah.
And
I know.
then but they had a plan though. So
Yeah.
the judge basically said, man, this man want to protest, he don't gotta eat your food. So, and I wasn't on my deathbed either. You can only force feed somebody to preserve life, to save their life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was still drinking plenty of water, even though they had me
Okay.
down there. I
Yeah.
wasn't suicidal or nothing crazy like that. But
Yeah.
I was
But
just
so that's a good thing you just bring up. You say you wasn't suicidal or nothing like that. Because here it is. I'm gonna repeat again. You went to prison innocent.
yes, sir.
Here it was the guards beat you down, paralyzed you, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
then on top of that, you didn't lose your mind yet.
Didn't lose my mind.
You still have your mind. You had your body, but they never took your mind.
They could never get my
That's
mind.
that's that's a powerful statement right there. They had your body, but they didn't take your mind. So let me
Right.
ask you this: at what point? Because now your bid goes on. Your
Hmm.
bid goes on. You spent a lot of years in prison. At what point did you start advocating and litigating for you to get released from prison? What was the process with that, even in your condition of being paralyzed? Because that's a condition, there's some things when you're limited of doing things in prison, it's not easy if you can't navigate, go to the library, even though the law library is supposed to be a right for any inmate in general. But at what point did you start going back to court and litigating for your freedom?
Oh. Okay, so we would have to go all the way back to the county. So when I first got locked up, right, I immediately
Mhm.
went to the law library, right, and to learn my case. I wanted to
Okay.
announce the case, so I start reading, a bunch of books, legal books, and
Hmm.
cases like mine that had issues like mine. So I was reading and studying. So I was doing that before I even got injured. But my appeal was going on simultaneously at the same time as I was fighting with these jokers on that, the criminal stuff in my appeal. That was
Hmm.
always going on in the
Oh,
courts
so you
already.
so you never been time barred. You always made your statute of limitations.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so you was in the door with the PCRA from the rip.
Yeah, well, when you're on Capitol, it goes to direct review to Pennsylvania
Direct review.
Supreme
Okay.
Court. Yeah,
Okay,
all
continue.
capital cases have to go up there first, right? And
Gotcha.
so when I went up there, they and it's crazy because my case was so crazy. Even when they wouldn't let my lawyer in, right? So when the
Yeah.
lawyer when they did what they did to him, he explained to them, and they said, if you want this case, you're coming Monday. It was a Thursday before trial, right? Trial was scheduled to start on that Monday. He said, listen, I don't even got a page of discovery. All I need is a short continuous. I get up to speed real quick. They said,
Wow.
if you want the case, you're coming
Hmm.
Monday. He said, I don't got no discovery. They said the same thing again, Monday. So then he explained to the judge. He said, well, look, listen here. He said, on Monday, I'm scheduled to argue in front of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court because I had to go argue in front of them. That
Yeah.
overrides capital matter. You have to. He was
Oh,
essentially telling them, you have to give me a continuous because I'm arguing that where I got to argue overrides this capital case. So,
gotcha.
right, the judge was like, oh, you couldn't. So come Monday, they knew he couldn't show up, but the judge and the prosecutor went on the record like he sold me out and just refused to show up. They never went on there explaining why. But that morning, the lawyer that I retained contacted the court and said, listen, all I need is 3 hours. As soon as I get done arguing, I'll fly up there and I'm representing. I need to pick the jury. The
Hmm.
church, I need to pick the jury. Right.
Yeah.
So they said he didn't never show up. They wouldn't even give him a 3 hour continuance, which
Wow.
it's crazy because this is a man that that's on
Hmm.
trial, double capital case, right?
Yeah.
And and that's what pissed the federal judge off too. That man, y'all wouldn't even. These boys were so vicious. They wouldn't even get a lawyer 3 hours because it was a railroad. They was railroading me, right? And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they didn't want him to defend me, right? And
Yeah. Go ahead. It's all
okay,
right.
okay, it blanked out
Go
for a
ahead.
minute. All right,
Yeah, I can hear you.
so okay, yeah. So that's what happened with that, and but that part's important because that's part of the appeal process that you asked about, right?
Hmm.
And it, I learned the law though, and my case was going on at the same time that I was going through it with them, but it was two different things because my criminal stuff, the capital stuff, was separate from the lawsuits, which is civil. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's two different
Civil
courts.
and criminal. Yeah. So
Exactly.
so with the criminal, how many years did it take for all your appeals to go in and for you to be released? How many years did you have to spend during that time?
Oh man, I was there for a total almost just right under 22 years.
22 years you
22.
spent as an innocent human being
Yes, sir. 22
inside of
years.
prison.
Yep.
Something you did not do. So here it is. They could have sentenced you to death, but only held you because you still had your pills in, fighting for your life.
Yep, fighting for my life. And then when you on death row, it's a long, tedious journey. The appeal process, like it really moves along inches along at a snail's pace, if you will. It's that slow, right?
That slow.
It's that slow. Yeah, the appeal process.
So when did you get the actual documentation stating you are innocent and you will be exonerated and released from prison? Let's tell me how that felt and when did that happen?
Oh man, oh man, that was a beautiful day there. So in 2019, so I'm gonna try to be real brief with it. So
Yeah.
uh when I filed my direct appeal, I lost that. It took about 3 years. Then from there, I went up and filed a federal habeas petition
Okay.
in federal court. Because the way the law works, I had to, that was being held in abeyance. They postponed it while I went back down to state court to exhaust all the issues. And
Remedies. Yeah.
yeah, so
Hmm.
that's on my PCRA. So what these jokers did, the PCRA had to get filed back to the court that convicted me, that railroaded me, right? And
Hmm. Hmm.
all the issues that I had there, including my innocence and stuff, right? So they was like, "Oh man, we can't get this dude no hearing." All they did was sat on my PCRA for 7 years. Everything was in, everything was filed. They sat on it for 7 years and refused to give me a hearing or anything because they didn't want me to put on record all the issues and stuff that I had, the evidence and stuff. So what they did was try to just keep sit on my case and refuse to move. So what I did after that long time, I got tired of waiting. I already knew I was going to win in federal court. I knew that's where I was going to prevail because
Yeah.
judges they don't play that what the lower courts do, that good old boy network. They're in there for life. Their appointment is for life, so they don't got to
Mm.
get voted in, right? But in federal court, most times they follow the law. What does the law say? You got that relief, you're gonna get that relief, right? If you got it, right? So
Yes, sir.
I knew that's where I was going to win that. So I'm down in there. I'm down in the lower courts again, in state court, and
Hmm.
I got tired of waiting. I pulled the plug on them. I waived my whole state appeal so I could jump back, but it saved me like 10 or 15 years because I had to went through the state system again. I would have had to go back to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and they take at least 5 to 10 years
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah.
appeals.
I'm sure. Yeah.
I wanted to get back to federal court. So when I pulled the plug on my appeals, it was a dangerous and risky move because once you waive, and if it's a valid and knowing intelligent waiver, and if you lose, you can't then run back to state court and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I
Mhm.
need my appeals back."
Yeah.
You don't get a second bite at the apple, right? Once
Yeah.
you waive, and like I said, I already knew that that's where I was going to win it, and I didn't want to keep playing that game because they wouldn't give me no fair shot. They wasn't going to
Yeah.
overturn themselves and admit wrongdoing, right?
Wrong though.
Right. They're the ones that railroaded me, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so they didn't want to give me a hearing or none of that. So I said, you know what? I ain't playing this game with them. Waive that. Let me get back to federal court and reactivate my habeas petition. And,
Mm.
and when I did that, my lawyer's like, "Yo, what are you doing? You crazy? Nah, we ain't doing that." So I end up fighting with my lawyers, and and I wanted them off the case because they was trying to pull me back down in state court. Like, no, that's too risky, man. If you lose up in federal court, they gonna air you out. They gonna kill you,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And I kept telling them, because I knew I had the issues in federal court, right?
Hmm.
Especially Sixth Amendment claim, my right to counsel of choice. That's
Yeah.
a Sixth Amendment right. I
Yeah,
retained a
absolutely.
lawyer.
And
I was
effective
paying for
counsel.
the lawyer.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had a right to pick the lawyer I wanted. I'm
Effective, yeah, absolutely.
Amendment claim all day long, right?
Hmm.
Uh, so but they didn't want me to waive though, and they was like, "Just keep sitting there. We eventually get in there." And no, I'm glad that I stuck to my guns though on that, and
Yeah.
but they try to my own lawyers try to pull me down and keep me down there. So what they did as strategy, they said, man, this man, because of what the jail's doing to him, stressing him out and doing all this,
Hmm.
he's incompetent to wait. Problem with that was I did a lot of pro se work, and I got a chance to go in court to speak. So the judge said, this man is no way incompetent. Why would you argue that, right? And
Yeah.
they end up pulling that claim back, and I was allowed to waive. So fast forward to federal court. Once I got back up there, the judge seen all that was going on in there, and he gave me a hearing too. So before the
Wow.
hearing, so he told the prosecutor to turn over that discovery, right? And then what the prosecutor did, rather than turn over discovery, which was exculpatory evidence of my innocence,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
came back to court and said, "Your Honor." And soon I went and looked for the discovery the whole file went missing. We don't know what happened.
Wow.
Right?
But
And
did
he
you
ain't
have
want
a
to turn it
copy
over.
of it? But
Yeah,
you had a copy of it.
I had a copy of it.
Okay,
And
okay.
but the federal judge was pissed because he knew better. He knew he was lying, and he
Oh,
didn't he said, we believe somebody broke into the DA's office and stole Randolph's file. We don't know what happened
wow.
to it. And
That's deep.
he was acting like it just vanished in the thin air. But it was in his office the whole time, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
he said, I just came to work. When you gave the order to turn discovery over, I went and looked for it. It was gone.
Uh-huh.
We don't know what happened to it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm with you.
Nobody never broke into the DA's office in the history of that DA's office ever broken.
Wow.
Cameras on in the courthouse, right?
Mm.
He didn't want to turn it over because it had my so much evidence of my innocence in there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so the federal judge, he was so mad, but he eventually granted my habeas petition.
Oh,
Once
wow.
he in 2019, once he threw out,
2010.
yeah, he threw out everything, threw out my conviction, and told him to do it over, and then I could present it at a new trial. So they want to retry the case, but now
Yeah.
they had a problem because they just went on record saying they lost the file, right?
Wow.
And they wanted to try to like recreate, use what we had, which we weren't going to let them do that, but they wanted to try to recreate it, and
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
just a bogus game. So
yeah,
once they knew the whole case was built on lies, and
yeah.
along the way they had like these dirty cops on my case paying people to lie, and saying that it was me, but
Mm.
so much evidence of my innocence, including
Yeah,
they had DNA in the case that didn't match me,
yeah.
and so what they did is said, listen, at the time I had 20 years in. They said, listen, we got a good deal for you. Uh, we're we're gonna wipe away that 58 to 116 years and give you a 20 to 40. You'll be immediately eligible for parole. It was a trap,
What?
though, right?
Yeah, it's a
Had
trap.
yeah, had I tapped out to third degree, they'd have made me, especially the way I was fighting with them and doing all that. They'd have made me go.
Max out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a trap. But like I told him, I'm not taking nothing. I'm innocent, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the DA was so vicious. He said, "All right, well, you don't want to take this plea, then I'll just appeal it, keep you in jail. Then, all right."
yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm.
He went up to the Third Circuit, and they cracked him in the head. 6 months denied his. It got denied in 6 months, so he lost
Yeah.
that. Once he lost in the Third Circuit, he came back to me. DA said, "All right, look, I got a sweetheart deal for you, man. I give you a 10 or 20. You already got 20 in. All you got to do is tap out the third. We give you 10 or 20. You'll max out. You'll immediately go home and leave, right?" And
Mm.
I was like, man, get out of here. I ain't had to think about it. I was like, yo, I'm not taking that. I'm innocent. He said, all right, look,
Gotcha.
you could do, if you're worried about your innocent, I would even let you come in and do an Alfred plea. You could come into court. You could go
Mm-hmm.
on there and say about your innocent, you could give you a no contest plea, right?
Yeah,
That's still all intents purpose, still a guilty plea, right? You admit that
yeah,
they got enough evidence to convict you,
yeah.
right? And he was like, but you could talk about your innocence and why you're only doing this to go home. And you're going to leave your mom out there. Your mom's sick. Your mom and them need you out there. Just,
Wow.
right? And I was like, man,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it. I'm not pleading guilty to something I didn't do. Right?
Yeah,
So then he said, oh, all right, well, if you don't, what I'm going to do. I'm taking my case to Washington, D.C. I'm going to the highest court in the land, United States Supreme Court. And
mm.
I know I got a shot up there. So my lawyer's like, yo, you know, Trump just put them cuckoos up there. They acting crazy up there. And if they take your relief back, if he gets in and they take your relief back, you're going back to death row. So, consider what they offering you, man. You can go home, right? And I guess they invite. I was like, man, I'm not taking nothing. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, long story short, he went up to he tried to file a writ of cert to the United States
Mm-hmm.
Supreme Court, and they was acting crazy because there was a few cases, one death penalty case without New Orleans, and they took a guy's relief back and sent him back to death row. So my lawyers was afraid that they was
Gotcha.
going to do that because they had them conservatives up there and they was acting crazy up there, right?
Okay.
So it ran the risk of that, but I already knew that, who was in charge, and I'm standing on my faith too. That's the important part too.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Right. And but they didn't even let him in on the writ of cert. The United States Supreme Court slammed the door on him and wouldn't let him in on that writ of cert. So once that happened, things start rolling real quick. So
Real quick.
yeah, they had to get me out the state system, and he only had one option. Like the federal judge said, you got 90 days to retry this case. I think the Pennsylvania United States Supreme Court gave him 30 to retry the case or let me go. So they had to get me out the state system and off death row. They
Yeah,
rushed me to the local county jail. Once I
yeah,
got
yeah.
there, the DA once again came and said, "All right, look, man, I got one more. I got another deal for you." He said, You got 2 counts of murder and all this time. I'm gonna wipe all that off, and I'm gonna wipe 1 count of murder off, and I just let you plead guilty to 1 count of murder. That's it. ten
Wow.
years, and he's like, "That's the best deal ever. Just take the deal, man." Of course, I say the same thing again, real quick. I'm not taking it. I don't care if you said 1 day, right?
Mm,
Like I'm not taking nothing. I'm never
you
pleading
innocent. You
somebody.
innocent.
Absolutely, right?
Mm-hmm.
So after I refused to do that, he said, "Well, I'm just gonna keep you sitting in the county. I'm gonna retry you." This DA was so vicious and malicious, man. It was the same DA that was on from the beginning to the end, right?
Mm,
Top DA at this point in Harrisburg. So after I
mm-hmm.
refused to do that, I got the full exoneration. I got the full exoneration.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how I got, that's how I
So they
ended up.
granted after they try to get you and convince you plead guilty so that they can have their conviction count up no matter what your life looked like, you still held faith and said, listen, I'm not going to bow down to nobody because you knew that you was innocent and that one day you would be free. So you kept that faith just like that.
Absolutely.
So tell me, what I know you said spirituality. Touch on that a little bit. I know that you said that your faith is what helps you a lot to get through what you got through. So tell me, what are some of the things that kept your mind sane throughout that time? And in order to, have faith at the end, then you were released and exonerated. What like how did you sustain that?
Oh man, lots of prayer. I prayed, read the Bible a lot, but I prayed every day. My spirituality was actually, my foundation that I was standing on. That's why they really couldn't crumble me. Cause I mean, I've been through a lot, and when I tell you, they tried everything to break me. Right, I'm
Right.
going quick and leaving a lot of stuff out with the story, but there's so much more that I didn't even get to really touch on and expound on. Right, but
Gotcha.
as far as my faith, lots of prayer. Prayer really works, right? And
Yeah.
reading it and
Yeah.
studying. And God did bless me, with the type of spirit and strong
Yeah.
mind I got. But a
And
lot of
that's
stuff. Go
That's
ahead.
a
I'm sorry.
blessing. Now, quick thing. I know I have some people here in the comments that asking some questions. So you got Mr. Hildebrand Pelzer here, one of the top moguls in the city of Philadelphia in the school district. And he actually advocates a lot for the youth and incarcerated youth for their education as well. So he said, here you're having a heavy conversation. And here we go. He asked a question. He said, what happened to the DA afterwards? After they overturned your conviction, exonerated, did anything happen to the DA, the district attorney?
Absolutely nothing. This man has immunity. And this is the sad thing, right? That
Wow.
this man, they get to run under this umbrella of immunity, right? But I always said because he should lose his immunity once you do something illegal. It's not a DA's job to do anything illegal or convict you by any means, right? And when you do illegal stuff, you're supposed to lose that immunity. You can't run under that umbrella and for protection, right? Because
Hmm.
the fact that he knew that I was innocent going in day one, right? He really
Yeah.
tried to murder me, right? And he
Wow.
sent me to death row. He should be charged with attempted murder because one time, I promise you these DAs to stop if they would lose immunity and
Yeah.
get charged up for this. But yeah, he should be charged with attempted murder because he tried to murder me. He knew I was innocent going in. That's what makes it so bad,
That's
right?
making bad. Yeah.
And yeah, and then they signed one time. They signed my and scheduled my execution, right? I
Wow.
lost my first appeal. They actually scheduled for 60 days out, right? And
Yeah.
my mom seen it. My mom had a heart attack, right? Because she seen it
Wow.
on the news. Nobody told her. She just seen come across the news. They was getting ready to execute me, right? And they did
Wow.
schedule mine. The good thing I went to federal court and got a stay on that execution, right? But they did schedule it, and it's so much stress and stuff that came with that. But the DA, to answer the question, nothing happens to the DA. Actually got promoted. He's the top DA in Harrisburg right now, right?
Wow. So for
Right
20
now.
years, he been fighting to try to keep you in there.
Try to keep me in. He tried to
Yeah.
maintain that conviction, and he knew that it was a wrongful conviction because
Wow.
yeah,
That's
yep.
deep. So here we got Mr. Bill Hobbs right here. He says, "Have you won any civil suits against the police?" Um, it's up to you if you want to answer that. It's totally up to you. But that's a question that was here. Because he also says here, he says, go after him through the ethics committee through the state bar association. So that's two questions he had there. Mr. Bill Hobbs, off the link there, he says, hey, have you won any civil suits against the police? And he says, go after them through the ethics committee through the state bar association. Not sure if you're familiar with it, but I'm just putting it out there because that's what he's mentioning.
Oh,
If you
okay.
want to
Yeah,
touch on that.
that's some
Mm-hmm.
great valid points. So let me touch on the first part first. I touch on
Uh-huh.
that first. So I do currently have litigation pending, right? Uh, Under the wrongful conviction, and
Mm-hmm.
um, I can't get into too much of that. And acting on the advice of my lawyers, they told me to like steer clear of that. But I do got it pending, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the lawsuit pending, and
Okay.
yeah. So they're working on that. And then I had my other when I was in there, I filed 3 or 4 lawsuits that's currently pending too for the injuries that they caused in there, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got that. I didn't get the file on that second part that he mentioned with the ethics committee, right? I know
Yeah.
I personally was fighting against them too and writing letters and stuff in there, but yeah, my lawyers didn't
There
file
you go.
followed up on it. Yeah, that was actually the reason he kept trying to. He was so worried about the me filing a lawsuit. That's why he was kept trying to coerce me and convince me to tap out. So
Wow. So
plead
so
guilty.
yeah. Because so for instance, so probably Mr. Bill Hobbs may have more insight on the situation as well. He could probably give you some advice. So I know before the end of the show, we could definitely drop your email in, your accolades and how they can get in contact with you as well. And yeah, that's very powerful right there. Um, and I know that a lot of times, people they try, like you said, people they get thrown these deals knowing that they're innocent, they'll be convinced just because they want freedom or a couple of dollars. But here it
Mhm.
was, like you said, you was willing to fight to the end, and it's crazy because this doesn't just traumatize you, it traumatized family members as well. You know what I mean? Like you said, your mom had a heart attack when things came over the news. Here it is, my son went to prison innocent. The guards paralyzed him while he was in there. And on top of that, they ready to sentence him to death for something, he did not even do. But here it is, you turned around, you had the faith, and you kept fighting. You had your lawyers, but you kept fighting. So these type of things gives a lot of people hope. Especially individuals that's on death row, especially individuals that's probably incarcerated for something that they did not do. Because it's a lot of innocent people in prison right now. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And like you said, the only thing we can do is bring awareness and spread the awareness, throughout the world, to let people know that this is not right. I understand that DAs have a job to do, but at the same time, if you're going to prosecute and convict somebody, do it for somebody that's actually guilty of the crime. You understand what I'm saying? Because sometimes they'll build cops because they'll build cases against people just to build some type of clout or some status within the judicial system. But my thing is, and along with that is, there's a lot of individuals that are still appealing, being shot down, still appealing, being shot down, not able to afford, a private attorney, a private counsel. and only thing they can do is afford a PD, court appointed. Some, like you said, can be post se. Some people are good, representing self. But at the same time, it's like, wow, going through all of this. So let me ask you this. How has it been? Now, the crazy thing is you re-entered society, right? So you were supposed to be reformed, but you had nothing to be reformed from because you never committed a crime. So how has it been for you to transition on the outside after spending so many years in prison? What is like your day-to-day daily living like?
Oh man, it's I'm not gonna lie. I have different struggles. When I first came out, the first time after being in there, most of that time, well, all of the time was spent in isolation, right? And along the way, so I suffered and went through so much. But trying to reacclimate back into society, I faced several obstacles and hurdles, right? For example,
Mhm.
uh, when I came home penniless with nothing, right? They just booted me out,
Mm. Wow.
nothing. And so I went straight to a hospital from the county because I couldn't walk. And I was on the gurney. Whenever I'm transported, it has to be on a gurney. Like, I gotta be laying flat because I can't bend or sit up, you
So hold
know.
up. So you say you got to be laying flat. So it's not something like, oh, you get in a regular wheelchair, you can wheel. You actually have to be laid flat on a daily basis anywhere
Yeah,
you go.
yes. It's just
Powerful.
like I'm laying now in the bed. I'm
Yeah,
laying here now on my stomach, just
on your
laying here. I
stomach.
got my upper body, but I can't bend. That's where my injuries are. It's the bending.
Can't
I
bend.
can't get up. So I can't get in a traditional, utilize a traditional wheelchair. It has to be on
Okay.
a gurney, and I gotta be remaining flat like that. So that's how. So when I got released, I went straight to a hospital because I was trying to get this surgery, right? And
Okay.
when I first came home, I always laugh about it because when I first seen a iPhone, right, after being in there, that blew my mind. Just the technology and
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
technology that my little grandson, he snatched the phone right out my hand. He went right to work. It was helping me, right? And he
Wow.
5 or 6, right? But so I came home. I was trying to get ID. I was trying to get insurance. I went to a
Okay.
hospital. And because I didn't have no insurance or anything, they just dumped me. The county jail just took me straight to a hospital, dumped me off, and rolled out. So the hospital was
Wow.
like, "Yo, ho!" When they see my name, what popped up was a double murder conviction. So they was like, "Whoa!" But they didn't understand I was exonerated, right? It mean
Yeah.
I do this, right? But they
Yeah.
didn't want me at the hospital that I was at. They didn't want me there, right? So I'm like, man, go again with this type of stuff. So
Yeah.
they they wanted me out, so I was facing that. So what they did, they couldn't just kick me out because they wanted to know, well, you ain't got no insurance. How you gonna pay for all this treatment you need and surgery,
Okay.
right? So I had to sign up for like this like local like welfare insurance, just the local insurance, right?
Yeah.
I was penniless and had nothing. I was homeless. I was living in a hotel. Well, after the hospital wanted me out, but because of the federal rule that law that they got, well, you can't just it's a no dumping law. You can't just dump
Yeah.
somebody at the hospital once I'm there.
Gotcha.
So what they did is they said we're going to pay. We're not going to do your surgery, but what we will do is pay for your hotel since you're homeless, and you can go there for a month. We'll pay for that. So they put me in a hotel. So now I'm facing. I didn't have no ID or nothing. So I was trying to get that type of stuff. My ID. I was trying to get affordable housing, trying to find that, and it was just a crazy struggle. And not to mention, I was confined to a bed. So now I'm trapped inside a room, and it start feeling like jail again because I'm just like I'm out. I'm very thankful that I'm out, but I'm existing, but I'm not really living my full life, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm into a bed and I still can't get out. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
things I couldn't do, right? So I'm facing
Wow.
stuff like that, and yeah, it was struggles like that that I'm facing, and of course. and everything that I endured and went through in there. I'm dealing with that. Also, I had three. I got three children. That was a part
Uh-huh.
they had to grow up without me because of that. Everything that I went through. So I was still trying to put together and rebuild relationships and piece back together. One day at a
Wow.
trying to piece back together. 1 second, let me put this charger in real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah. So wow. So you've been through all of that. So my thing is, so now what is the situation? Are you waiting on a surgery? What type of situation are you in right now? So that you can, get back on your feet or get into the acclimation point of therapy and things like that. What's your current situation?
Okay, so as I say, I was penniless and without nothing. So the lawyers put together a GoFundMe, right? Um,
Okay.
to generate some donations. So what happened? Well, a good thing happened when I put up the GoFundMe. Two
Hmm.
doctors seen it from LA, and they said,
Okay.
listen, this story is a crazy story. All that happened to you. What we're gonna do as our donation is we're gonna do that surgery for free and to get you back on your feet again. And that's gonna be
Okay.
our donation and contribution to you because of what you've been through and suffered.
Yeah.
So, so then, so these guys, so then, I got to go fund me up, and these guys, they said they're from LA, and that's actually where I'm at now. I'm out here in California now, right, to get
Yeah.
this surgery. But the problem was that although they're willing to donate the surgery part of it for free, what they couldn't donate was everything that comes after the aftercare of surgery. So once they do the surgery, I can't stay in a hospital, and I ain't have no insurance in California. I couldn't take my insurance from Pennsylvania. You can't take Pennsylvania's insurance to another state. And then when I just coming here to California, I didn't have. You can't apply for their insurance unless you're a resident of the state, right?
Wow.
What the doctor said, we can do the surgery part, but you would have to transition into a rehab facility. After that, you're gonna have to do physical therapy. Then you're gonna need food and housing out here. We can't do that. We can't donate that part. But if you raise 100,000, that would cover and give that to us. We can set up all that other stuff you're gonna need in California out here. And so that's what my GoFundMe is about. So they did me the doctors. If you see my GoFundMe,
Yeah.
I can send it to you. But they did a important video for me. The doctors did, and explaining why they need the money and the 100,000, and then they could set up all that other stuff that I need. So that's the plan, to get my surgery out here in California, so it can get me back on my feet, and it probably take anywhere from 6 months to a year. And they say that the type of surgery that I need, it's a new technology. They're going to actually go in through my stomach, and they're going to replace L4 and my lumbar, L4 and L5, that's lumbar, the lower portion of my spine. They're going to go in through my stomach because instead of tearing my back open all crazy, and they're going to go in and replace and repair that. Once they go in through the stomach, they move those blood vessels and all that out the way, and the spine is right there. They decompress the spine and replace L4 and L5. They said it's a great
Wow.
surgery, and if it's successful, they can get me back on my feet and walking again. It depends how my body responds to the surgery. So that's the plan and goal.
Got you.
We're still
So
trying to
tell
raise.
me, I believe that um what I put up there is that the GoFundMe link, right? I've got the link there. I want to actually drop it in the chat as well. Um, but how could people contact or get in contact with, like, far as the GoFundMe? Would you like me to post that so that people can know how to, if they would like to donate to the cause or contribute in some type of way?
Yes, sir. I would appreciate. We kind of slow and fell short. We're at 40,000 now. I gotta get to 100,000, and I appreciate all donations. What anybody can do, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
if you which one you got? What you got? Let me
Um,
make sure you got the right one.
get the right one. Okay,
Is
I'm gonna
when
double.
you go in there? Does it say it's currently like 40,000 in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, is it a video on there from the doctors? If you scroll
Yeah,
down,
at the bottom. I'm gonna actually I'm gonna actually show it. I'm gonna try to show it right now. The video from the doctors. All
yeah,
right.
that'll explain. That'll be beautiful.
All
That'll
right. Let me see. Let me make sure. I'm gonna take it off the screen right now just to make sure it's the right one. And I'm a let me see if I can share this real quick. All right. Hold up. Um well wow, that's deep though. But yeah, but this one let me see some. Yeah. Yeah, right now, because I'm on a different setup, I can't share it. But yeah, but it definitely shows the GoFundMe. We could actually follow up on it once we get the right thing. We could drop it in the chat of all the platforms it's on. Um, Here goes somebody, Miss Precious Hicks. She said, I had that surgery after incarceration. My disc ruptured and I lost feeling in my lower body. The officer bullied me until I just waited to go home. Uh, she said, wait till I go home. She said, pray for a speedy, she praying for a speedy recovery for you. That's Miss Precious Hicks.
I said, thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's sad. You know, they do it all the time in there, and
Yeah,
once you do go through that stuff in there with them, I mean, they tried everything, to break me, man, and break my spirit. They really
yeah,
was
yeah.
trying to kill me on several occasions. You know that
Mm-hmm.
I was on, death's doorstep on several occasions. They
Yeah.
by the grace of God and the strong mind and spirit that I have. I was able, but they like I was telling you briefly before, they actually secured the court order to feed me, and their plan was to intentionally botch the procedure and then hide behind the court order. So
Wow.
what they actually did when they secured that court order, and they lied to the court, said I was on my deathbed and get ready to die, so he had to hurry up and sign this court ordered force feed. And they kept telling me that they was gonna get me. They was like, "We got something for you." So once they secured the court order, these vicious boys did. They come back, chain and shackle me to a hospital bed, right?
Yeah.
And they use the nasal gastric tube and supposed to put it up your nose and down into your stomach, right?
Yeah.
And they blow bubbles into it and air into it, and then that's how they know it's in your stomach because of the bubbles that from your
Mm-hmm.
stomach. So what these jokers did, instead of putting it in my stomach, they put it into my lungs, and they perforated
Mm.
my lungs, punctured my lung, and start flooding my lungs with fluid. So I'm chained to
What?
a hospital bed. Think how vicious they were. I'm chained to a hospital bed. Anytime something fluid goes into your lungs, you're drowning, right?
You
So
drowned.
yeah, I'm on there struggling. I'm suffocating. So I'm struggling against the chains, trying to, and they just stand there laughing like we told you it's gonna get you. But the play they was trying to run was they would just would have had they murdered me, which they was trying to do, they just would have said we had a legal court order to force feed him, but it just went wrong.
Oh,
That was the
wow.
play they was trying to run. So they
That's
wouldn't help
deep.
me when I was suffocating. They just stood there and was laughing, right? And
Wow.
they did this 11 times, man, in a 3-day span. And I never needed to be force fed, but they just kept
Wow.
because they was trying to murder me. Like these demons,
Yeah, that's
wicked,
deep. That's
wicked.
deep.
Tell you, yeah, they was trying to kill me, but I got assaulted several times. Like I said, they played with the food. That's why I wanted to eat the food, but
Wow.
they
Wow.
tried too much. But my spirit
Wow.
was too
That's
strong.
what's up. That's what's up. And I know we coming up on this hour mark here, but we gonna definitely have you back on here on the Reentry Connect podcast because I know you have a lot more and more to talk about. Like I said, you got comments here flooding, people on Instagram talking. I see hardworking boxing. He says, "Blessing, God is good all the time." He said, he "Appreciate you out here in the world." We know that you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot, and we know that for a fact that you know, it's going to be a good cause out of this, man. You're going to get back on your feet. You're going to be walking again, and all we can do, man, and this is deep right here. All through that you've been through, all you can do is just look back and just pray for them, forgive the people for what they did to you. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? My heart goes out for what they do, even though they was very, torturous, and they were, very unprofessional with these things. But again, like Mr. Pilgrim Pelzer here is saying, stay encouraged. You know what I mean? Stay encouraged. Don't lose your faith and keep going. So, without further ado, if you can give your accolades, how can people get in contact with you? What's the best way in the cause, to give back to you if people wanted to? um just share everything with you, like what would you like to see done if it be possible for all the viewers and listeners that's here present today or going to view it soon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm open to all contact. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. They can reach out to me. I'm willing to work with anybody, right? To join the cause and work alongside them. I
Hmm.
actually utilize my platform when to try to give back. Cause like you said, there's a lot of people still in there. I left a lot of innocent people that's still in there. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to work along somebody. They can email me. My email is Samuel Randolph 71 at gmail.com. And I can forward, like you said, to anybody open to the donations. I'm very thankful and appreciative of that. And my GoFundMe,
Hmm.
if they could donate to that, and they could
Hmm.
reach out to me, I'll respond and we can work together. Right. And
Gotcha. And you said, say your email address one more time.
it's Samuel Randolph. My name's Samuel Randolph. The number is
Uh-huh.
7171 at gmail.com.
So Samuel Randolph.
Mm-hmm. 71
Okay. 71
at gmail.com.
at gmail.com, correct?
Yep. And then,
Cool. That right there. How does that look? Does that look right on the screen right there?
oh, yes, sir.
Samuel Randolph at gmail.com.
Yes, sir. Can you
That's
see
how you
this?
can get in contact with this good brother. All right, hold it back. Let me see. Hold it up again.
Oh, I was trying to.
Slide it back, slide it back. Yeah, slide it. Um, right there, right there. Stay right there. Just hold it up there for 5 seconds. Support the walk again. 3, 4, 5. Gotcha.
On the bottom
Okay.
of that, I guess you could clip on that is bit.ly forward
Mhm.
slash
Gotcha.
help Sam walk again. And that explains
Yeah.
the story. Once you go on there, it'll link straight
Yeah.
to a lot of everything on there. And
Okay. That sounds good. That sounds good. So what we're gonna do without further ado, we're gonna get ready to end the show on the Reentry Connect podcast. We really appreciate you tuning in, Mr. Sam Randolph. We're gonna be keeping you posted because it definitely needs you on here again. We definitely want to see the best for you, things that happen for you. Like I said before, we're going to encourage you to definitely keep the hope, keep the faith. We know that things move, at its pace out here in the world, but if you did all that time, you know what I'm saying? I know that, just a little more time, it'll definitely get you back right on your feet. You know what I'm saying? Um, so again, we want everybody to have a good evening. Everybody have a good day. And we just hope everybody the best and be blessed throughout the rest of this the weekend. All right. So everybody take care. Thank you, Mr. Randolph. You take care, and we'll get back.